ladies and gentlemen, PC Lauinger. Did I pronounce it right?
Yes, you did.
It's funny, and I've been telling people this. I overthink name pronunciations at the beginning of my podcast, like without exception. And anyway, it's like a thing. So then I end up messing them up. But no, I'm super excited about this one. So you and I met. We've kind of become friends with school pickup and drop off. We've got kids that are in the same class, and it's been cool to like slowly, learn more about your story. And then for everybody listening, you're in good company when your podcast guest makes you put on a weighted vest and climb up a mountain before podcasting. That's a good sign right there. But you're a father first and foremost. I'm going to call you a community leader. You're also, though, a business owner, an entrepreneur, and I learned today that it's not your first rodeo with it. So multiple businesses. And I've been especially excited to talk to somebody in the manufacturing space, especially here in Durango. Like there's not, we don't have a lot of manufacturing businesses like we were talking about.
Right.
So where I want to start, though, if you're cool with it, is your background. We talked about it a little bit on our hike, but I want to kind of tell that story of how you got to where you are now.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So, I mean, I kind of started when I was younger, really, into Legos and engineering, and ended up going to school for biomedical engineering. Didn't really use that much. First job that I had, maybe a little bit in my first business. And then got into marketing from there. So grew up in Houston, moved up to outside of Boston area, went to school at WPI in Worcester. It's too gray up there, so came back to Texas.
Come back to the sunshine.
And then got into kind of some civil engineering and product development and marketing from there, with a great company in Houston called Geo Products, with a neighbor of ours, actually. So that was fun. Worked with them for, I think, like 7 or 8 years. And then met my wife after I started our first CrossFit gym. That was one of the businesses.
I was gonna say, that was like the first entrepreneurial thing. Yeah.
So I think I just started it at my job. We were doing great, and I think I might have got a little bored with what we were doing. So I obviously are like, oh, let's add on.
Yeah, what else could we put on the plate?
Right. Didn't have a girlfriend, didn't have like any real responsibilities. So it's like, all right, let's just do this. I like doing CrossFit. So opened a CrossFit gym with my neighbors who were working out with me in our garage.
Right.
We were like, all right, let's do this.
Turn this into something.
Make some money. And then obviously you start doing that, you work out less than you normally would.
Of course.
Right. But it was a great learning experience. Probably had 15, 20 employees.
So it really turned into something.
Yeah.
I want to hear about that and I know too, we talked a little bit on our hike that you also had a 3D printing business, which I definitely want to talk about, but I'm interested in kind of that first, I don't know what, the first journey into business ownership and entrepreneur. And it sounds like, and I don't know the timeline of growth there, but I want to hear about just kind of the lessons that the gym taught you and how you've kind of applied that to whether it was the 3D printing business or now obviously GT Tools too. But walk me through just kind of like that first experience of business ownership.
Yeah. So I think a lot of it had huge learning experience starting the company or starting the CrossFit gym and going through all of the, like, figuring out what systems we were going to use. My two partners, one of them was in private equity lending. The other one was he was a CFO for a company. So we had some good baseline from finance side. So we had like a cash model from the beginning. Everything was developed with like our profit in mind, which was great. Figuring out like what we had to do, how to sign a lease, how to create agreements. I mean, we set up an operating agreement between the three of us and all that. Never done that before.
Right.
That was interesting. And then kind of just jumping into it. So we picked luckily at that time, CrossFit was growing a ton in Houston.
Yeah.
And there just weren't enough gyms for everybody. So we launched with like 100 members out of the gate.
Right out the gate.
Right out of the gate, paying probably, we targeted, instead of trying to target like your 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds, or like 20-year-olds more so, like people without kids. We went for the professionals, parents, like right out of the gate that could actually pay.
Right. Yeah.
And charged more than most other places. So,
were you did you bring like the marketing perspective to that? Like, was that an intentional positioning?
So I did marketing and more like pretty much all the operations for the business. My two partners were involved more on the financial side and not really as much in the day-to-day,
right?
Like managing coaches and managing like marketing and all that. So I was kind of handling most of that.
And then did you start because I know at some point along the way too, there was the 3D printing business. Did they overlap, or did
that was before the before the CrossFit gym. Yeah. It was like right out of school.
Okay.
Yeah. So probably a year or two for that.
So you had already had business experience before the gym.
Right. And this was with some of my, I guess you would call them, what are they? People I went to school with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Classmates.
Yeah.
Colleagues.
Yeah. A lot of stuff that we actually played around with in school that we monetized after that.
Right. Yeah. So do you feel like, because I think that it's always interesting, like if some people are accidental entrepreneurs, like there's something that they're interested in or good at, and then by nature kind of have to, turn it into a business. It sort of evolves. When you look back at those two early ones, what came first, like the entrepreneurial spirit, or, did you kind of like stumble into it and start doing it because you were into the thing?
The first one was more, so we ended up getting a patent through the school. So the school paid for the whole process for what we were building. And it kind of just evolved into, I'd say we fell into it more than like we pushed to do it. It was just one of our like school projects we were working on.
Right.
Kind of turned into something we were excited about. Yeah.
And then the gym though was intentional.
Gym was intentional.
That was real. Entrepreneurial hat was the driver.
Yeah, I got to the point where like in the business I was working at, I'd read a ton of books on business and everything. So I was trying to like engineer our business that I didn't own to be more effective, efficient, scale, all that. And it wasn't really my place to do it. So I felt like at that point, like where I was mentally, I needed to do that with something.
From a place of like, is that coming, do you think, from a place of, I don't know if control's the right word, or just because it seems too like you're kind of you're a systems guy. I feel like you're, I mean, even, our working relationship, like dialed from reporting and process it, I don't know. You seem like a very system oriented.
Systems for sure.
So I'm curious though, like that drive, when you look back early on, that story that you're articulating about, it almost like treating the job you were working at with an entrepreneurial like business mindset of it. If that was coming from, like, did you see that it could be doing more, or that there were efficiencies that weren't happening, or like, what do you think was the personality trait that was kind of driving some of that? I'll call it evolution initiatives.
Yeah, I think we saw so as a small business inside of a larger plastics manufacturing business. So big company was Inline Plastics. They manufactured geomembranes for oil and gas industry, landfills, all that kind of stuff. And this smaller business, Geo Products, was kind of taking some of the same extruder equipment and technologies and producing erosion control products with it, originally developed by the Army Corps of Engineers. And we started making those. And so it was a smaller group within a bigger company. So like myself and one other guy basically managed the marketing and kind of sales and all that for Geo Products. And I saw there were there were ways that GeoProducts could do better as a company and grow more. But we were kind of in almost like a stepchild position with inline plastics, where resources in some cases were shared, but we're kind of like limited to what we could accomplish as a team.
Right.
So I saw that like I wanted to do more, but I wasn't really at that point yet. And I was probably, 26, 27, something like that. So it's super young, right?
Right.
And probably wanting to do more than I had the authority to do at that point, right?
Tons of ambition.
Yeah.
Not quite the power yet. Yeah.
And so, I mean, with me, it's kind of like I had to get that out somewhere. So that's when I started kind of looking at the CrossFit gym and how I could more so like feed that drive than to try to make money somewhere else.
Right.
And really, like, the job I was working at was paying great.
Right.
And this is more just like a mental challenge.
A place to put the energy. Yeah. No, I relate to that. Because I had jobs until I started Ascent. But when I look back at my life in hindsight, I was born to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Like I rented my parents' VHS tapes out of their garage. I started a garbage can cleaning business when I was in high school. Like, I had that spirit forever.
Yeah.
But I relate to that because I'd have these, like, the best job I ever had actually is I was the guest services supervisor at a golf course. And I've often reflected back on why I loved that job so much. And I realized that it's because they gave me ownership, quote unquote. Like, I got to turn it into what I wanted to. Like I had a new system for inventorying rental clubs, and I started a detailing program for the owners' golf carts. And like I had an outlet for that stuff, where I think sometimes when I don't want to like downplay, I'll use the analogy of that, you're pulling the lever at the job, which is not, I don't mean to like downplay that or say that it's a bad thing, but it is so hard to like, you're an ambitious guy.
Yeah.
And it's so hard when there's not a place to put the ambition.
Well, you can see the like you were saying for me, like system stuff. So you can see the whole picture, but you can't really like work on getting every part of that to a bigger level, because you only manage this small.
Yeah, your sphere of influence is your two people or whatever. Yeah. Yeah, and that's what I'm interested too about, because and maybe fast forward a little bit ahead to GT Tools, but I know that in between kind of the initial entrepreneurial journey of the 3D printing, and then jobs, and then the gym, and then jobs, and then GT Tools.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting, like, I don't think I could ever go back to having a job now. And so I want to hear a little bit more of your perspective on that, of like, I think it's unique in your situation and your story that there's kind of been this bouncing back and forth between entrepreneurship and business ownership and normal jobs and back and forth. I'm just kind of curious how you feel like that's, obviously it's led you to here, which is an amazing spot to be at, but like pros and cons of it, or I don't know, lessons learned along the way. But I just think it's interesting to go from just kind of that back and forth, and want to hear your perspective on it.
Well, I think a lot of it is like, so I started the CrossFit gym, and I love the job that I was working at too. So, having that, like, it was almost like a safety net to some extent. Like, you have this so you can do whatever you need to with this and not really worry as much about how it's functioning, or if growth isn't as fast as you want it to be.
Not the end of the world.
Not the end of the world, right? Like, even though you want to grow that, that kind of situation gave me more of a, like, the opportunity to do it the right way, I guess.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people will like jump straight into something and you kind of have to make it work.
Right.
But it's never really been that way with what I've been doing. Maybe as part of how I was like brought up to make sure you're always like, you have your basic stuff taken care of.
Yeah.
Right. so there's that risk. You got the entrepreneurial like risk tolerance, right? And want to like grow in that area. And also I think my personality is kind of mixed with that, or more balanced, I guess.
From the risk tolerance perspective?
From like just extreme risk versus like risk and balance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me more about that. Cause, you know, if your typical like entrepreneur podcast, everybody would be like, no plan B, you know, all in, you know, work 10,000 hours a week or whatever.
Yeah.
And so like, I remember when I started Ascent, I quit my job, and it was such a weird moment for me because in a lot of ways, I kind of felt like I was walking away from, I was really proud of like the career trajectory I had had. And,
Yeah.
you know, I had the corner office, and I had a great, you know, I had the title, and I was making good money. It was stable, like it was safe, but it was similar that I didn't have, there was like this need to do more that I didn't know where to put it. And, so I though quit, you know, no plan B. I had a couple months of savings is all, you know, like it was like, it needed to happen relatively quickly too. Which I think in my case was a really good thing, because I go all in on whatever I do, no matter what. Like that's just the way I'm wired.
Yeah.
But there were definitely some things about it that balancing the risk tolerance, I think, would have been a healthy thing in a lot of ways. Like one of the things is I had to take all the work I could get.
Yeah.
Good, bad, or ugly. Like, you know, if they're going to write a check for $1, I'm taking it, you know, like we're making it happen because I got a mortgage I have to pay.
Oh yeah.
And then I found in hindsight that it's taken me a long time to unlearn some of that like yes man mentality, you know, that now that the business is bigger and stable and there's work that we shouldn't be doing, and I still have a hard time bowing out from that. So anyway, I'm just curious on like, do you feel like that has set you up better for success, knowing that you can kind of let the businesses, I don't know, grow without the intense pressure on it that other people would normally have?
In some ways, yes. In some ways, not so much. On the kind of the yes side, it has given me that ability to like focus on the important things. And also, like for me, having like a life outside of work business is super important too.
Tell me what that's like.
Like,
tell me more now.
Well, I met my wife and then realized that I wanted to be with her too. Right. So I had to make our CrossFit gym work without me being there all the time.
Yeah.
Like I'd go there before we met, I'd be there at like 4 a.m. Then I'd go home, go to work, come back, be there till like 8 p.m. right after work. And then, I mean, I had to put systems in place and figure out how to make the business run and be profitable and do well without me being involved every day.
From a lifestyle perspective.
Yeah. I think that piece drove a lot of like where I've gone to now.
Yeah.
Is like learning how to put systems in place there so that you can have a lifestyle and your business can grow as well.
Right.
That's been a big driver for us.
Yeah. And I want to talk more about that. And maybe we talk specifically about it, you know, in the world of GT tools, because I've seen that about you, that you've got you have a great lifestyle. Like you're active. I see that, you know, I mean, you get exercise dang near every day. You get to drop your kids off and pick them up, you know, from school, which I mean, that's at 8 and 3. Like that's,
right.
You know, middle of the working day, really. And I'm probably, I'm a little bit envious of it, but working towards it. Like I've had a learning curve of, I've always been confident in the sense that I can outwork bad decisions. Like whatever needs to happen, I can just work harder and figure it out, like make it work. But I've also learned that from a growth trajectory, as far as like the business is concerned, my hard work is only going to take us so far. And I've never been a systems guy. Like I'm the furthest thing from a systems guy. Like to this day now, I have to send my team emails that say like, keep me accountable. Like if I send you something that should have been through the system, you need to tell me, because I really do want to learn. I'm an old dog, learning new tricks. But I'm seeing in such a powerful way right now how important the lifestyle is, like the balance.
Yeah.
And where I've been approaching it lately has been the best way I think I could explain it would be that I'm trying to now optimize for sustainability.
Yep.
Meaning that if I burn out, I let down everybody. Like I let down my employees, I let down my clients, I let down my family, and it's and that's been hard for me to come to terms with.
It's hard for sure. I mean, like that's one piece that I really didn't figure out until like this fall.
Oh, it's this recent.
Yeah.
See, I'm sitting here thinking you're like this seasoned expert on it,
The more like sustainable piece.
Yeah.
I'd say. Like, so met my wife, we moved up here. Like you were saying, I worked for a couple of companies up here before GT Tools, before getting into ownership again. I knew I wanted to get back into it, but really for us, it was moving up here to be in the mountains.
Lifestyle was the driver from the beginning.
Yeah, for sure. Lifestyle was the driver, which has definitely played a big piece in it. And until we had kids, so it's almost like, so first thing was started the CrossFit gym, met my wife, realized I wanted a lifestyle outside of work. So that was kind of the first peak right there. And then kids were another one. So once we had kids, I realized that like I couldn't, and I didn't really want to like work all day every day.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to give them as much of like being a present parent and being involved with as much of what they did as I could. So that required me to, I'd say, evolve even further into like having the lifestyle and the work piece dialed.
And it's such an interesting, from the perspective of fathers, we're both fathers. I wrestle with this constant dilemma. It's like, because I also want to be, I want to be dad of the year.
Yeah.
I want to be present at everything. I want to, be at every game, every school thing, everything that could ever exist ever. Like I want to be there. I also though feel all this pressure to provide.
Yeah.
And like make sure that they have options and, financial stability and all that stuff. And I'm trying to figure out, and I want your perspective on it, of like how the two coexist simultaneously, like do you get to a point where financial stability is there and then let some of the lifestyle, like presence things happen? Or do you just force the lifestyle presence thing? And I'll just share my perspective and then I want yours. I'm starting to think that maybe the one has to happen actually in order for the other to happen. Like if my sole focus is on growing the business, making money, doing all that, I find that I then sacrifice myself, my health, like all that. Then I show up less optimally for my family anyway. And then I show up less optimally for my business.
Yeah.
So I was telling you on our hike this morning, like 2025 was it was a challenging year for us from an income perspective. And 2024 though wasn't. Like 2024 was amazing.
Yeah.
And so we allowed ourselves to do all these like lifestyle things. 2025 wasn't, and we didn't allow ourselves to.
Yeah.
And then 2026 now, income is, rebounding, like business is doing great and all that stuff, but we're just choosing the lifestyle before, anything else is there. And I think it's working.
Yeah.
Like, I think that might be the answer, is that you pour into yourself first so that then you can pour into the rest of it. But I'm curious for your story, especially now that I know that added context that it's more recent than I realized.
Yeah.
Of like what comes first and how do you balance that of those different responsibilities of being the provider and the present father?
Well, I think like, so from the beginning, my wife and I we've always been pretty financially stable. Like she works in the cath lab. She does a great job, and that's helped kind of bridge anything that we needed to. And I've also always had like a W-2 salary to some extent. So we've never really been in a position where we weren't doing well financially, I guess, which helps. So I think a lot of what I realized recently was that, so GT Tools has grown a ton over the last 6 years. And there's been a lot that like I've pushed our team to do and our team's done. We've done a great job, but it's a lot of kind of like self-imposed growth that's not completely necessary. Like pushing for 20-25% growth every year, like you said, it's not sustainable, right? And like realizing that I don't have to grow that much to have a great life. That was the big piece. It's like we're doing great as a family and as a business. And in the fall, this past year, just realizing that I need to be not stressed out about super growth with the business to be a more present parent and be the best for my family when I can get home.
Yeah.
So focusing, like you're saying, focusing on making sure that you're taking the time for yourself. You're slowing down, not trying to go as fast as you can. Picking the right things to work on. And like the first focus for me is obviously my kids, my family, my health, and making sure that that's the priority. And if that's in place and doing well, I know that our team does a great job because we've hired great people.
Yeah.
And I know that if I can accomplish those things, like you said, I can show up, even if it's for a shorter time at work, like because I drop off the kids, I'm there from like 8:30 to 2:30. Right. So,
but it's more impactful hours, you think?
Yeah. Like in that time period, I need to make sure that I am not stressed out in there.
Yeah.
Like I'm able to make high quality, like high level decisions for our team and for our company when I'm there. So
I want to hear you said something there that stood out to me that I want you to unpack a little bit. And it was basically this idea of like, we're fine. Yeah. And it's something that I think a lot of chapters in my life I've been great at. And then I've seen it kind of slip and then come back now. Like I'm back to it definitely now. And it's this simultaneous, we talked about ambition.
Yeah.
You know, when in your past careers and, you know, your past jobs of like needing that place to put ambition. One of the things that I'm trying to make sure I stay very consciously aware of is simultaneously being extremely grateful for what I have.
Yeah.
And ambitious and letting the two live together, you know, because it's funny, like very recently I've sitting talking to my wife and I'm like, it's the weirdest thing because I've already far exceeded my wildest dreams.
Yeah.
You know, like, yeah, I find myself feeling that pressure for rapid growth. And like, you know, those things where when I can get to a point where I remember how good I have it, it takes that pressure off.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. And I don't know how, so I'm curious how you balance that because I think we're wired similarly. We're very different from an operation systems perspective, but I think we're very similar from a ambition, you know, energy perspective. And I want to hear how you balance that of like, because I don't think your ambition has waned.
Yeah.
But then still like that, you know, we're fine and taking the pressure off.
I think it's a big thing of like separating so my wife brought this up to me probably a year and a half ago. It's just like separating your self-worth from your business success. Like
that's possible.
I am worth more as a parent. Like I'd say my worth is not driven by like how well our business does,
right?
How well like if we make a ton of money or something. Like if I'm a good parent, I'm a good dad, I'm a good husband, like I'm happy, enjoy what we're doing. Like that's being able to separate that from like, okay, we had a bad month or we had a great month with the business or a great year. Like that'll happen. And I can control it as much as I can.
Right.
But it shouldn't define me.
Mm.
And I think that was probably the biggest realization that I didn't really have. My wife had it for me, but
Thank goodness for good eyes.
right. But once she brought that up, I was like, okay, it totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Right. And figuring out how to that has been like a big driver on figuring out that balance.
Yeah. No, I love that. And it's funny because that's come up probably 50 times on this podcast that, our self-worth doesn't have to be tied to our achievements. I have yet to figure out, to
It's a hard thing too.
buy in on that. Was there a thing that happened that triggered that? Like, or were you kind of leaning too far in one direction?
I think probably just not being super happy at home, like stressed out,
Right.
down to work, and like we didn't hit the self-imposed goals.
Right. These arbitrary things.
Arbitrary goals for our business that stressed me out, and realizing that I needed to be able to show up better
no matter what.
Yeah.
Yeah. How have you, because it seems like obviously, I think you've been very successful at adopting that belief. How did you do it?
So I took more time for myself, especially like during the work week. Like I make sure that it used to be like every day that I was off was typically when the kids were off school because they're out all the time. Right.
Right.
We were at St. Columba, and Catholic schools have like 50 extra holidays a year. Right. But you'd be off when kids are sick, kids are out of school. I felt like every day I was like off of work was more for them, not for me.
Yeah.
So really making sure that I'm getting up in the morning and having my own time or time with my wife working out before everybody else is up. That's
right.
Big. And then just taking like a day or a half day every week to just have time for me.
Yeah. Not kid time, like not parent time.
High energy, high output, low responsibility. So
like playing,
working hard, like outdoors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. Speaking of similarities, I'm also been working on that, and I'm trying to, like, I was really good for a while about having my workouts scheduled into my day. They were non-negotiable. I would do that. And then before things at Ascent because we've been in hyper growth mode. Yeah. Like we'll grow in we'll grow by 100% year over. Like it's been wild. And what I end up doing though is I let myself then justify sacrificing the self-time because I'm like, oh, I got to get through this chapter. Like but then I'm realizing it's been 5 years of that.
Right.
Like there are no chapters, like this isn't what, and I used to find a lot of solace in projects.
Yeah.
Like building fence or building my barn or, doing stuff around the house. Like when I could be mentally consumed with a thing. And then running is my biggest outlet. But it's been really cool. I've started letting myself do that more recently.
Yeah.
And the savings account isn't at the level it should be to be building a new barn, and the time is not there but I've just been doing it anyway. And I've been finding that it's like charging me up.
Yeah.
Like yesterday, we remodeled our laundry room yesterday, and it was it was ugly and a mess, and I hung cabinets and did this whole thing, and I actually texted one of my colleagues, and I was like, that things are going well because I had extra energy after work today and hung cabinets. And I think that what I'm finding is that you have to force it. Like they're never going to come a time, especially for guys that are wired like us, where the business is going good enough and the bank account's healthy enough and, that it's all there that, okay, now it's my turn. Because otherwise it'll never be our turn. Yeah.
Yep.
Have you always, you mentioned kind of this balance being new, but like that understanding of the time for yourself.
Yeah.
Is that also sort of new, or is that also always been something?
It's always been somewhat of like a piece in the background. For sure. Like I've almost always not done work outside of work. That's a big thing. It's like once I leave, I'm done.
Yeah.
So, keeping that going has been big too, but balancing, like making sure we're play on the weekends, or we're working out in the morning, or we're taking trips and having fun, time for ourselves. Like, not just working all the time.
Right.
That's always been part of our life for sure.
Has that changed the goals that you have for GT Tools, or has it just changed your relationship with the goals?
I think this past year we had that realization of like, okay, we've grown this much for 5 years, but the business has been around for 40 years.
Right.
And they grew probably an average of like 5 to 10% a year for 4 years. And just recently, like, we've been doing 20-25% years.
Right.
And we're realizing that that's like not sustainable for us to have this company go, because we want to make this a business that stays around for another 30, 40 years.
Another 40 years. Yeah.
Yeah. And to do that, like, you have to make sure that you can sustain it, like, personally.
Yeah.
And that it grows at a rate that is sustainable.
Right.
So making sure that our goals are realistic on that front, and not necessarily trying to push for like 20-25% growth. Like 10%, 15% a year is great.
It's great. Yeah.
It's awesome. And cash flows better. You have happier employees.
Stress is lower.
Happier people, lower stress. When I first started working for GT Tools, that was a big piece of like one of the founders, Kerry, his mindset was just like that. Like, he would come into the office, he'd work, he'd leave to go surf at like Night Horse, or go for a mountain bike ride at lunch, or leave at 2 or whatever. Work's done. Business has been around for a long time, and he trusted people to do what they needed to do. And just the stress level and like the culture when he was there was super low stress. Everybody was happy. We're growing at a normal rate, having fun doing what we're doing. So making sure we like keep that in mind.
Yeah.
To build a company that can be around for another 40 years.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of coming back to that, like, optimizing for sustainability. And I'm seeing that a ton in my business right now. Like, cause I've got finally an amazing team.
Yeah.
So now I'm like, I got to keep them, I got to keep everybody happy. And what's been cool is that's helped me with some of the courage to like turn down bad work, or, a thing that I forever have been so bad about paying attention to red flags, and like, they're like, oh, well, maybe this one will be different. And then of course it never is different. And, because of that, of like, I feel a little bit of an obligation to protect my team and not push it too hard to them where everybody's stressed, everybody's burned out, and like, stable, consistent growth, I think, is the goal. And so has that required you to change your approach to the business? Like, have you had to be intentional about slowing down?
Oh, definitely.
Tell me about that.
Yeah. So instead, I mean, it's happened to me personally too, like intentionally slowing down and trying not to set unrealistic goals that I have to force myself to get to.
Yeah.
And for our team, it's like, what can our team actually accomplish? And really learning, we've done this in the last couple of years, is really learning like how our team works, like how everybody's wired, what they're best at, where you can push certain people and not other people. And really just working within kind of that mindset of like how people are wired in your business, and setting more realistic goals for what you want to accomplish there.
Right.
It's definitely intentional. So
I'm curious, and maybe there wouldn't be a perfect like comparison, but to try to paint a picture for my curiosity, let's say that there's the year where you set those huge, crazy, ambitious goals, both personally and professionally. And it is the hard charge, all in, goal getting year.
Yeah.
And then there's the year with, let's just call it, more conservative goals and balance and like that intentional slowdown that you talked about.
Yeah.
And I'm especially interested in talking about it holistically, like personal and business. So we have two separate situations, 2 years. Which one do you find has brought you the most happiness?
Well, I'd say this year is the first year that we've slowed down.
Okay, so we're but so far,
it's been a lot better.
yeah, I'm very interested about that. Finish your thought. Sorry.
So, the business is doing great. It's growing. It's kind of allowed us to focus more on instead of, and a lot of people talking about like new customer acquisition versus retention. It's like focusing on our existing customers and how we can help them grow more, as opposed to trying to like get a ton of new customers without the systems in place to support all that growth. Systems, resources, employees, like the team that we have, we want to be able to grow and keep them. Like in 40 years, we haven't let anybody go because of growth or because of bad decisions on finances or anything like that.
Right.
Which is pretty great. And we want to keep that up. It's like if somebody wants to work for us, we're gonna keep them.
Yeah.
So but allowing the team that we have to kind of help grow our current customer base and add new customers here and there, right? We've got goals for like certain new markets and everything, but trying to get the most out of what we currently have is more of a goal this year than it has been in the past. And it's so far it's kind of turned into those existing customers who've actually brought in more revenue than we thought they would.
Fascinating.
Which is great. So that extra focus on them instead of trying to focus on newer people has been a big change for this year.
Right.
So,
yeah, because I'm just interested in like, I get a lot of fulfillment in aggressively pursuing big goals.
Yeah.
I also, though, get exhausted. And like, that, like which one, and it's obviously different for everybody. It's not like there's like a crystal ball or a magic wand or anything, but that question of like, what would lead to a more fulfilling or happy life? Because there's definitely joy in the pursuit of goals, and accomplishing them for sure too. But like having something huge to chase after. But then there's also so much joy in being present, and that purposeful slowdown. And I'm actively working on that bucket, and trying to figure that out, because that's where I'm at from like a personal perspective, is balancing that of like still being as ambitious as I can be and growing, but realizing that there is such a thing as growing too fast.
Yeah.
Like for sure. We've been guilty of it. Luckily I'm bad at learning lessons, but once I learn them, I learn them. So it took me 2 rounds of growing too fast before I learned, oh, hey, that's not going to work, and doing it a different way. But I think it'd be an interesting thing to, realize, like, if somehow you could measure like overall happiness impact of the two kind of different approaches.
Well, for one, like, so 5 years of growth, right? You kind of get to the point where every month, every quarter, you're hitting a new, like, okay, we hit our goal, we're growing, we're way above last year. And for me, those like milestones almost became like not as much of a celebration and
Expected.
They were expected.
Yeah.
They were just like, okay, we did this. It's not like that wasn't a huge driver for me to do it again.
So the celebration even waned.
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure. And so it got to the point where it was like, okay, we're going to hit this every time. Like,
Right.
What are we doing there?
Right.
The drive to like hit those huge goals has kind of waned because of that.
Yeah. Which maybe is a great thing.
I agree. It's kind of, I know you want to do that to grow your business for your employees and stuff, but if you have the goal of being around for 40 years and not the goal of like, okay, in 5 years, we want to sell this.
Yes.
Try to get it as big as we can and sell it. Then the mindset there kind of changes a lot. It's like, how do we continue to just grow?
Yeah. It's just like changing your perspective on the time horizon.
Yeah.
And it's funny because it's come up recently in some of my team meetings, is like, we need to look at this from a 5-year perspective, not a 5-month perspective. Like we're fine.
Oh,
You know, we're profitable. We're making money. We're growing steadily. Like we don't, you know, how's this going to impact us in 5 years? And I think too, when I'm making changes in the business, I used to like, you know, I need next month to be different than this month. Like I got to like do it right now. Where now I'm realizing like, hey, it's not broken. It's going great.
yeah.
Start like implementing these little changes and give myself the time to like implement them properly and let it, you know, have impact over multiple years instead of multiple months.
Yeah.
Because that's you know, take some of that pressure off. And it's interesting that you said about those goals, because I find myself slipping into a dangerous territory where like excellence is like normal.
Yeah.
So then you end up with all the pressure of it and without the reward anyway, because
You don't get the dopamine hit anymore.
you're like, well, I expected it, you know, like say, well, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe it's a expectation changing thing. Okay. So speaking of that then, and before we run out of time, knowing kind of this, I'm just going to call it a mentality shift or approach shift. When you're looking at your business and yourself and, you know, looking at that trajectory, like and you talk about, you know, keeping it, you want it to exist for another 40 years.
Yeah.
I'm going to call it your North Star. Like, you know, when you're planning your life now and dad, life, physical fitness, the business, you know, all of that stuff, big picture wise, when you're setting your North Star and like where you're headed, what does that look like? Like, how are you, you know, what does success look like now in 5 years from now?
Yeah. I mean, so 5 years from now, probably similar spot. Like I want to be able to, and I've kind of engineered it that way, like be able to spend the time that I want with my family, be a dad first, be a husband first over a business owner. Like that'll always be my mentality.
Yeah.
And making sure that I keep that in the forefront of like, if I focus on that, then I have to set up our business so that it can be sustainable. And in the next 5 years, I mean, improving profitability. Like if we didn't grow our revenue at all and our profit doubled, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Right. But making sure that our team here too, that works for us can continue to live in Durango.
Yeah.
Because that's why we're all here. Right. It's like this business exists to allow people to live in the mountains.
Right.
And enjoy what we have here. Right. So I think that like keeping that in the forefront is like, we're here for the lifestyle and for our families, I guess.
Yeah.
And making sure that what we do from a business perspective supports that long term. So, I mean, goals wise, obviously we want to take more market share from our competition and grow in our industry and continue to provide our customers with great tools that help them do their job better. But with the lens of making sure that our employees are taken care of, everybody's families are doing well. Like if everybody comes to work and they're happy with what they're doing, the money they're making, the money we're making, we're able to have the lifestyle we want, then I would call that success.
I was gonna say that's a win.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
like I don't need to make $10 million a year or something.
Right.
And buy a bunch of stuff that we don't need.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You already have it all.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love that. It's kind of like that why behind the why. I like not losing sight of why we're here in the first place, which is really to have a great life.
Yep.
You know, be present with our families, and we already have that. Yeah. Well, I love that. Great perspective. PC, thank you so much. I feel like we got to do this again because it went a little bit of a different route than I thought it was, but I really enjoyed it. And
it's all right.
I love your perspective, and I love getting to learn from you. And I see it. Like, it's funny because I'll run into you at school drop off and you're like calm, cool, collected. And I'm like shaking off the stress, you know, like, you know, checking my emails while I'm standing there with you. But, it's inspiring. And so I have a gift for you.
Oh,
These are my Inspire by Example shirts,
sweet.
because you really are. You're inspiring by example, and I hope you know it. Like, you're already making an impact on me, which is hugely appreciated. And I think that, some of the perspective and just like the insight and your approach to things that you've even shared in this quick one today have been hugely valuable. So anyway, all of that to say, PC, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Really
Thanks for
appreciate
having
it.
me. I appreciate it. Yeah.